Have you ever wondered why a woman who barely looked at you suddenly can't stop finding excuses to be near you? Or why she laughs harder at your jokes than anyone else, even though you're not really trying to be funny? You brush it off, thinking maybe you're imagining it, that she's just being polite, or that she'd never see you that way. But here's the truth you've ignored for too long. You're often more attractive than you think, and women reveal it in ways you've been conditioned to dismiss. The reason you underestimate yourself is simple. Men are trained to overvalue what they see in the mirror and undervalue the invisible signals that women give off. You think attraction only counts when it's verbal, direct, and obvious. But women rarely play that game. Their attraction leaks out in fragments: how long they hold eye contact, how their voice shifts when they speak to you, how they suddenly become curious about your life. And because you're too busy questioning yourself, you miss the signals. That hesitation is the gap where doubt kills your momentum. Imagine this: you're standing in a group, telling a story. She's not right next to you, but you notice she turns her body slightly in your direction. Her eyes flick back at you more often than the others. Her laugh comes half a second faster when you speak. That's not chance. That's not coincidence. That's attraction looking for a door, and you're holding the key without realizing it. But here's where the game gets twisted. Some women exploit this blind spot in men. They know you second-guess yourself, so they toy with subtle cues, giving you just enough attention to keep you hooked, but never enough to satisfy your doubts. This is emotional manipulation at its most dangerous level, not grand gestures, not cruel words, just silence and inconsistency that make you question your worth. And the more uncertain you feel, the more power she holds. You've probably felt it before: the dopamine rush when she laughs at something you said, the gut punch silence when she suddenly pulls away. You start analyzing, replaying, wondering if you did something wrong. That's the trap. She's not necessarily doing more, but your mind is doing all the heavy lifting. You hand her control without realizing it. Attraction turns into obsession when you make her validation the measuring stick of your value. So how do you take your power back? You stop doubting and start testing. When you sense attraction, don't chase it with constant attention. Instead, pause, pull back slightly. If she's genuinely interested, her energy won't vanish, it will increase. She'll find you again in conversation, ask questions about you, or look restless when you give more attention elsewhere. This isn't cruelty, it's clarity. You're not being distant to punish her. You're giving her a chance to reveal if she's real or if she's just playing. Think of it like this: a man who's confident in his attractiveness doesn't need every signal spelled out. He sees interest, he registers it, but he doesn't jump on it like it's his last chance. He knows he has options. That calmness makes him magnetic. Women feel it when you're not desperately grasping at their approval. It creates space for them to lean in, instead of forcing you to lean all the way out. And let's be brutally honest. The biggest reason you miss signs of attraction is because you're afraid of being wrong. You'd rather dismiss her cues than risk embarrassment. But every time you do that, you rob yourself of experience, of clarity, of building that edge that separates passive men from men who know how to lead. Attraction isn't a static gift, it's a live wire. If you're too timid to touch it, you'll never feel the current. The shift comes when you realize that doubt is more dangerous than rejection. Doubt keeps you frozen. Rejection teaches you. Attraction grows when you stop playing it safe and start moving with awareness, not hesitation. That doesn't mean throwing yourself at every woman. It means observing, testing, responding. It means refusing to be manipulated by crumbs of attention. It means standing firm in the fact that yes, you are more attractive than you think, and it's her job to prove she's worthy of having that access. So I'll ask you directly, have you ever ignored a woman's clear signals only to realize too late she was waiting for you to act. Have you ever confused real interest with manipulative attention games? And what's the moment where you knew she wanted you, but your hesitation cost you the chance? You've been taught to measure your attractiveness by surface traits, your height, your jawline, the number in your bank account. But attraction runs deeper than that. Women respond to something far less obvious but far more powerful: the way you carry yourself in uncertainty. Most men crumble the moment a woman withdraws, but a man who holds steady in silence, he's the one who ignites curiosity. Picture this: you're texting back and forth with her. The energy feels alive. Then suddenly she stops responding. Hours pass. Your chest tightens, your thoughts spin. You wonder if you said something wrong. That's the moment where 90% of men fail. They double text, they over-explain, they chase. But the rare man who understands his own worth does the opposite. He doesn't panic, he doesn't push. He lets silence hang because he knows her withdrawal is not always rejection, it's often a test. She wants to see if your confidence is stable or fragile. If you rush to fill that silence, you show her your attraction is built on desperation. If you stay grounded, you communicate something far stronger. My life doesn't revolve around your approval. That's magnetic. That unsettles her in the best way. Women sense when a man is unshaken by absence, and paradoxically, that's when they come back harder. This isn't about games, it's about psychology. People value what doesn't beg for them. When you don't overreact to her hot and cold behavior, you strip away her power to manipulate your emotions. You stop being predictable. And unpredictability is what creates the tension that women mistake for chemistry. The truth is, a lot of women don't even realize consciously what they're doing when they pull back. Sometimes it's instinct, sometimes it's insecurity, sometimes it's strategy. But your job isn't to decode every motive. Your job is to train your nervous system not to flinch, to treat inconsistency as noise, not as a verdict on your value. Let me give you an example. A friend of mine, we'll call him Mark, had a habit of chasing every time a woman grew distant. He'd text paragraphs, call multiple times, even show up uninvited. Women lost respect for him not because he wasn't attractive, but because he couldn't control his emotional hunger. Then he tried something different. One woman pulled away after a great date. Instead of panicking, he let 2 days pass. He lived his life, went to the gym, focused on his work. By the 3rd day, she texted him first with twice the enthusiasm. Why? Because his silence spoke louder than his words. It showed he wasn't afraid to lose her. That's the paradox: the less afraid you are to lose, the harder it becomes for women to let go. You've probably been in situations where a woman keeps circling back, even after ignoring you. She ghosts, then reappears with a random message. Or she suddenly comments on your social media after weeks of silence. That's not random. That's her trying to re-establish her hold on your attention. The men who fall for it instantly hand the power back. The men who recognize it for what it is, control wrapped in breadcrumbs, respond with calm, measured energy. They don't chase. They don't overinvest. They let her prove she's serious before giving more. The practical application is this: the next time a woman withdraws, resist the instinct to fix it. Do nothing. Watch what happens. If she values you, she'll close the gap herself. If she doesn't, she'll fade, and that silence is the gift of clarity. Either way, you win. You protect your self-respect, and you attract only the women who truly see your worth. Attraction isn't about perfect timing or saying the right line. It's about training yourself not to collapse under pressure. Women are drawn to the man who stays calm when others crumble. That calmness is rare, it's valuable, it's what makes you stand out, even if you've been blind to it. Now, Ask yourself, how many times have you sabotaged attraction by chasing when she went quiet? Have you ever mistaken her silence for rejection when it was really a test? And what would shift in your dating life if you trained yourself to hold steady instead of overreacting? Think about the moments where you've been sitting across from her, the conversation flowing, and suddenly she leans in just a little closer. Her hand brushes yours by accident. Her eyes linger on your mouth when you talk. Her laugh is softer when it's directed at you alone. You notice it, but then you second-guess yourself. Maybe she's just friendly. Maybe she acts like this with everyone. That hesitation is where most men lose the moment. Attraction thrives on decisive energy, not hesitation. Women are not blind to the effect they have on you. They study the micro-reactions, the way your pupils dilate, how quickly you smile back, whether your voice tightens when you get flustered. If you crumble under that attention, she senses you value her too highly already. But if you stay relaxed, if you receive her cues without needing to exaggerate your response, she feels something rare safety mixed with desire. That's when her attraction deepens. Here's the uncomfortable truth: women often test your awareness. They won't spell it out. Instead, they throw signals in layers. The first glance is curiosity. The second is testing your confidence. The third is confirmation. If by the third cue you're still paralyzed in self-doubt, she marks you as unready, not unattractive unready. Women don't always need a perfect man, but they need a man who recognizes the current when it's running right in front of him. So what do you do when you catch those signals? The answer isn't to lunge, nor is it to freeze. It's to escalate with calm precision. If she touches you lightly, don't pull back awkwardly. Return the contact in a grounded way. A hand on her arm, steady eye contact. If she asks you personal questions, don't dodge. Give her an answer with quiet confidence. Then throw the focus back at her. If she lingers in silence near you, don't rush to fill the space. Let the silence stretch and watch how it makes her lean closer. You might be telling yourself right now, but I don't want to misread and embarrass myself. That fear is what keeps you in mediocrity. The man who's willing to risk being wrong is always more attractive than the man who never tries. Because risk signals confidence. And confidence is not the absence of doubt, it's the ability to move through it without losing your frame. Let me give you a story. A guy I once coached was terrified of making the wrong move. At a party, a woman kept giving him every classic signal, playing with her hair, laughing at every sentence, brushing against him in a crowded room. He froze, thinking, what if I misinterpret? Meanwhile, another guy walked in, noticed her energy, leaned in with one confident comment, and she was gone with him within an hour. Not because he was better looking, not because he had more money, but because he acted while the window was open. Attraction is perishable. If you hesitate too long, you teach her you don't trust yourself. And if you don't trust yourself, why should she? The tactical shift you need to make is this: stop demanding certainty before you act. Attraction is never guaranteed. It's about reading enough signals to justify movement, then moving with controlled intent. If she responds warmly, you escalate further. If she cools, you back off without shame. That's how you train both awareness and detachment. You're not chasing validation, you're leading the dance. Every time you second-guess a clear signal, you reinforce the belief that you're less attractive than you are. Every time you respond with quiet, measured confidence, you train her to see you as the man who doesn't flinch under pressure. That's the kind of man who leaves a mark. So tell me this: how many times have you let attraction slip away because you wanted more certainty before acting? What's the one signal you keep doubting, even though deep down you know it means She wants you. And if you looked back at your last missed opportunity, what would you have done differently in that exact moment? You've probably noticed that some women seem to orbit around you without ever committing. They'll flirt when it's convenient, withdraw when you show interest, then reappear just as you start to move on. That cycle isn't random. It's a deliberate or unconscious way of feeding off your energy without ever giving you the respect of clarity. And the more you doubt your own attractiveness, the more you tolerate it. This is where men get trapped the hardest. You start thinking, if she comes back, it must mean she likes me. But here's the reality: you're not dealing with attraction. You're dealing with control. A woman who truly respects your value doesn't play hide and seek with her attention. She invests consistently because she knows men with self-respect don't wait around for games. The emotional cost of tolerating this back and forth is brutal. Every time she vanishes, you feel the hollow pull in your chest. Every time she reappears, you feel the rush of relief. Your nervous system gets addicted to the cycle of absence and reward. That's not love. That's not even attraction. That's conditioning, like a lab rat pressing a lever for inconsistent pellets of food. And just like that rat, you'll keep pressing the lever long after the reward has lost its meaning. But here's where your shift in awareness must come. The very fact she circles back is proof you're more attractive than you think. If you weren't, she wouldn't bother. But if you keep giving her instant access whenever she returns, you erase your own power. The magnetic pull you create by being attractive is wasted because you never demand respect with it. So how do you break this trap? You introduce scarcity, not of attention in a manipulative way, but of your emotional availability. When she reappears after disappearing, you don't give her the same open door she's used to. You slow your responses, keep the conversations light, and let her demonstrate consistency before you invest again. You don't reward breadcrumbs with a feast. You make her earn her way back into your space. I've seen men transform their entire dating lives with this one adjustment. One guy I knew used to answer every late-night "Hey stranger" text from an on and off girl he was obsessed with. She kept him dangling for months. Then one day, he didn't answer, not out of anger, but out of indifference. 2 days later, she sent a longer message. He replied hours later, polite but detached. For the first time, she felt the shift. He wasn't orbiting anymore. That's when she started putting in real effort. The point isn't that she came back stronger. The point is that his silence recentered him. He finally realized her interest had no value unless paired with consistency. This is the essence of being attractive in a way that women can't manipulate. You don't let their inconsistency dictate your self-image. You know you're valuable whether they stay or leave. You stop trying to earn what's already proven. If she flakes, you let her. If she tests, you hold your ground. If she invests, you reward with attention. That balance is what turns the emotional war in your favor. Detachment doesn't mean coldness. It means discipline. It means refusing to let your worth swing up and down with her moods. It means building a frame so solid that whether she leans in or pulls away, you remain the same man. And that, ironically, is when she feels the strongest pull, because stability is rare, and women crave the gravity of a man who won't bend for validation. So I'll ask you, have you ever been caught in that cycle of withdrawal and return, convincing yourself it was love when it was really control? How many times have you rewarded a woman's inconsistency with more effort instead of pulling back? And what would happen if, the next time she reappeared, you gave her silence instead of instant forgiveness? There's a truth most men don't want to face. Women often find you attractive long before you realize it. But whether that attraction deepens or dies depends entirely on how you handle yourself once it's there. Attraction isn't fragile, but it is sensitive. The wrong behaviors don't just kill it, they erase her respect. And without respect, attraction evaporates. The most common mistake is overinvesting too soon. You meet her, feel that spark, and suddenly you're rearranging your schedule, texting her constantly, and making her the center of your thoughts. You think you're proving interest, but what you're really proving is insecurity. She doesn't feel special, she feels suffocated. Women respect the man whose life is already full, whose attention is earned, not poured out like water on the floor. Imagine this: she texts you casually in the afternoon, and you drop everything to reply instantly with long, eager messages. At first she smiles, but soon she feels the imbalance. She's not chasing, she's not wondering, she's not investing because you're doing all the work. She may still find you attractive physically, but emotionally you've stripped away the mystery that fuels desire. Attraction isn't about convincing her you can't sell your way into her heart. It's about allowing her to prove she deserves more of you. That's where the discipline comes in. When you feel the urge to over-explain, to confess feelings too soon, to shower her with compliments every time you see her stop, hold back. Let silence carry weight. Give her space to lean in. If she's genuinely drawn to you, she will. If she doesn't, then your restraint just saved you months of wasted effort. Women respect what they have to earn. The man who forces nothing, who allows her to show her hand first, stands apart from the crowd of men tripping over themselves for approval. That doesn't mean you act cold or robotic. It means you engage without losing your balance. You can show warmth, you can show charm, but you never give away the core of your identity in exchange for scraps of attention. Think about the men you've seen who seem effortlessly magnetic. It's not because they're the best looking in the room, it's because they never look like they're begging for a woman's time. They stand with calm posture. They listen more than they speak. They let eye contact linger without rushing to fill silence. That stillness tells her something powerful. This man doesn't need me, but he might choose me. And that possibility drives her wild. Here's the practical shift the next time you feel tempted to pour more effort in than she's giving. Pause, match her investment, don't exceed it. If she sends short, delayed texts, don't answer with novels in seconds. If she shows up half-hearted, you don't reward her with full commitment. And when she does lean in, when she gives energy, attention, vulnerability, you meet it fully, but not a moment before. That's how you create balance instead of becoming her emotional servant. Understand this: you are more attractive than you think, but you sabotage it by acting like you're less. You overgive because you assume she won't stay otherwise. You overtalk because you assume silence will lose her. You overpraise because you assume she doesn't see your value unless you constantly remind her of hers. Every time you do that, you make her the prize and put yourself in the position of chasing something you've already earned. The strongest attraction is built on tension, the dance between interest and restraint, between warmth and composure. Too much interest kills it. Too much distance kills it. The balance isn't showing her enough to keep the current alive, but holding enough back to remind her she hasn't fully captured you yet. That's when her investment grows. That's when she starts proving herself. So let me challenge you: how many times have you killed attraction by giving more than she earned? When did you last silence your own instincts out of fear of losing her? And what would it look like if you trained yourself to stop overinvesting and finally let her show up for you instead? The hardest thing for most men to accept is that attraction isn't always loud. It doesn't always come in the form of confessions, dramatic gestures, or clear declarations. Sometimes it's quiet, buried in subtleties, hidden in the spaces between her words. And the reason you don't see it is because you've been conditioned to doubt yourself. You think you need proof carved in stone before you move. But the men who win with women are the ones who learn to act with quiet certainty before the evidence is undeniable. Think about the last time you walked into a room and caught a woman's eyes lingering on you just a second too long. Maybe she quickly looked away. Maybe she smiled faintly and tried to play it off. That wasn't nothing. That was her opening the door a crack. If you froze, if you looked down, if you dismissed it as coincidence, you missed your chance to turn that spark into fire. Attraction begins in microseconds, and hesitation smothers it faster than rejection ever could. Women are not attracted to perfection. They're attracted to the man who moves with grounded conviction, even when the outcome is uncertain. When you speak to her without needing to be perfect. When you tease her lightly instead of worshipping her. When you stay calm in silence instead of panicking to fill it. She feels the weight of a man who knows his own value. That's when attraction doesn't just spark, it compounds. But here's where the psychological trap lies. Some women will see your hesitation and exploit it. They'll breadcrumb you with attention, then vanish, then return when they sense you've regained your balance. They thrive on the power of your self-doubt. And if you keep responding eagerly every time, you condition yourself to believe your worth only exists when she validates it. That's how attraction turns into dependence. The shift is simple but difficult. You must learn to sit in uncertainty without losing composure. When she gives mixed signals, you don't spiral. When she tests with withdrawal, you don't chase. When she throws subtle cues, you move with light. Confident steps, not desperate lunges. You're not trying to guarantee the outcome, you're simply leading the interaction with the strength to handle whatever comes. Picture this, you're on a date, and there's a pause in conversation. Most men rush to fill it, terrified she'll lose interest. But you lean back, sip your drink, hold eye contact, and let the silence breathe. That silence creates tension. That tension is attraction, because it tells her you're not scrambling to keep her entertained. You're comfortable enough in yourself to let the moment live. This is what most men don't realize. Attraction grows not just from what you do, but from what you don't do. You don't chase every withdrawal. You don't explain yourself endlessly. You don't overinvest before she's earned it. You don't beg for certainty. Instead, you give her space to reveal her true level of interest. You make her come forward. That's how you separate real desire from manipulation. And when you master this, you finally understand the truth: you were always more attractive than you believed. The only thing standing in the way was your own fear of being wrong. Once you stop trying to control how she perceives you, you start living in a way that forces her to reveal it. That's when the games stop working. That's when you stop bending. That's when you realize the power was never hers to give, it was yours to claim. So let me ask you directly, have you been mistaking silence for rejection instead of attraction? How many times have you rushed to fill the gaps instead of letting her lean in? And if you finally trained yourself to stop fearing the uncertainty, how much stronger would your presence feel to every woman you meet? She didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect.